and post them to our agency zone. So if you missed any previous ones, feel free to go to agency zone to check out the ones that you may have missed because we always have cool topics. And it's a good turnout today. Thanks for joining us. All right, so everyone, welcome. Today's topic, we're going to be talking about SNAP. It's a hot topic. I'm really excited to talk about it today. There's a lot going on with it. I'm sure there's going to be some questions. We have a really great group of panelists here to join us. So later on, we'll have a lot of time for questions and space for discussion on best practices and outreach. Yeah, so today we're talking about SNAP, outreach methods, barriers to participation, advocacy opportunities, and to learn about resources. And the folks that we invited to be a part of the panel, they are SNAP grantees or are known to do outreach and application assistance of their own. So this is really the time to learn about SNAP from your peers and get inspired around why SNAP is important for your work in hunger relief. So feel free to pipe in at any point to share your own knowledge about SNAP, best practices that you've learned from working in the field at your food shelves and meal programs, working with folks in the community. And I hope you walk away today with some fresh ideas on how you can make a plug for the program within the work you're already doing. Because we know that SNAP is very important to work in hunger relief. And we heard it quite a bit since probably March or April that visits at your food shelves have skyrocketed, and it's likely something with the fact that SNAP benefits have the temporary emergency SNAP benefits ended around that time, and benefits returned to the regular amounts in April. So that's no secret. That definitely had an impact on many of our neighbors in Minnesota that were receiving those additional benefits. They were a huge help throughout the pandemic, and crises didn't necessarily end in April and March for families. So of course they turned to our agency partners such as yourselves to access food shelves as they just did not have those SNAP benefits anymore. So today we're really hoping to talk more about what you all are doing currently to get people access to SNAP, what the community is saying about it. And we have just a few updates here and there. Advocacy is something that we're focused on too. We have Mike here, our comms director, who's going to talk a little bit about our new action center. But first, we're just going to start out just with a quick announcement that is already that time of year. September 28th of today and October 1st, there will be new income guidelines for SNAP. This happens every year, and so it's not going to be a huge income limit raise, but just be aware that if you send out outreach materials, I think there's a dog barking, that you may just want to be aware that the income guidelines were for the previous year. So starting October 1, 2023, there will be new income guidelines posted to the Department of Human Services website, and we'll also probably have information about it on Second Harvest Heartland's media pages and website as well, and we'll get our outreach materials updated eventually as too. So I don't have the new income guidelines to share with you today because we don't have that either. We wait for that information from DHS, but it's just that time of year to be aware that there may be families that are newly eligible starting October 1. Another piece of information that we wanted to share with you all today is that there's some stuff going on in the news, obviously, about the government shutdown. What happens if Congress can't get their act together by Sunday? What happens to SNAP and all of those other federal nutrition programs? So I'll let Mike take a little bit of that piece when it's his time to talk about advocacy. But we did just meet as a team yesterday to talk about this. And so what we've learned about SNAP in particular, that as in past shutdowns, there are options available to the USDA to help ensure complete uninterrupted funding for SNAP. So the USDA has confirmed that October SNAP benefits will be available in full and on their normal monthly issuance schedule. And if the shutdown lasts until November, SNAP benefits could be incomplete and disrupted. So fingers crossed that the shutdown won't happen at all, but definitely won't happen through November, so people won't lose those important benefits. So with that, unless there's any immediate questions about SNAP, I think we'll just jump right into the advocacy piece. But I'll pause. Did anyone want to start with any questions? Okay. All right, Mike, take it away.
This is Stuart. I have a question. Can you repeat that about the government shutdown in October?
Yeah, I can even just copy and paste what I have in the chat here.
Awesome.
And Mike, feel free to take it away now.
I can talk about that too. Thanks so much. So yeah, with the shutdown looming, there are a lot of questions, of course, of how federal programs are going to be impacted right out of the gate. What we're hearing from MDH and our connections on the federal side is that WIC benefits will be impacted most quickly, potentially within a few days of a shutdown. MDH has said they're working on determining exactly when that would happen if the shutdown lasts 2 or more days. We don't have that information yet. Hopefully we will soon. And as we were saying up front, SNAP benefits will have a little bit more runway and should be okay through October in terms of not seeing an interruption to benefits. If the shutdown lasts more than 30 days, we could be in a much different situation. And previous shutdowns have, even when funding has been secure, just the way that benefits are administered and EBT cards being reloaded, there's been some kind of administration issues causing problems. So hopefully we don't run into that in October. But right now, everyone is saying that SNAP should be secure for October. So hopefully the shutdown, if and when it happens, it doesn't last more than 30 days. But what I want to talk about is one of the efforts that Second Harvest has been helping lead during September Hunger Action Month and into October around advocacy for SNAP specifically. We know that if we're going to achieve our goals around reducing hunger, we're going to need to advocate for stronger anti-hunger policies, hunger fighting policies at the state and federal levels. And that means very much that SNAP has to be protected. SNAP has to be strengthened. You're all aware of the statistics around for every meal that the emergency food system provides, and all of our amazing colleagues and coworkers, SNAP provides 9. And it just goes to show how far that program can go in helping us end hunger across the country. And in Minnesota in particular, we have some key legislators, key lawmakers involved in voting on and making decisions on the Farm Bill, which is only renewed once every 5 years and is currently in that process and being discussed at the federal level. And the Farm Bill, as you might expect, talks about things like subsidies and crop insurance for farmers, lots of important farm-related legislation in there, but 80% of that bill relates to nutrition and more specifically SNAP. So it's really important to have a strong Farm Bill to ensure the safety and security of SNAP. And Congressman Brad Finstead of District 1 in Southern Minnesota is the chairperson of the House Committee on Agriculture. And with that vote happening, we want to make sure that Congressman Finstead and his colleagues know how impactful SNAP is. So to get that word out and also kind of combat the longstanding belief that hunger is an urban problem or a city problem, as some of our legislators like to refer to it. We're working hard in rural communities in greater Minnesota to get the word out about SNAP and let folks know that over 50% of Minnesota's SNAP participants live in greater Minnesota in rural communities outside of the 7-county Twin Cities area. So the Second Harvest Public Policy Team is driving our first paid public policy campaign in September and October, focused specifically on the importance of SNAP in greater Minnesota in hopes that constituents in those districts connect with their legislators and voice their support. The TV spots and digital ads direct folks to our website and our new action center, which we're going to show here in a second. There's a number of digital ads that you're going to see on social media and on websites that you visit as well. I can tell you that it's been a really impactful campaign thus far. In September, we're getting a lot of click-throughs, a lot of visits to the Action Center, folks signing up to become advocates, which is great. And I'm going to see if I can share, hopefully the screen sharing works here for the Action Center. Are y'all seeing that? Great.
Yeah, Mike.
So if you click through one of the ads, or if you visit the twoharvest.org website and go to the Get Involved tab, you're going to see Action Center 3 down from the top there. And when you click into there, you're going to arrive on this page. And while we'll change what the focus is on a month-to-month basis here with different advocacy actions right now, as we've been talking about, is focus on SNAP. And really easily, folks can register, put their name in, receive emails about advocacy updates and ways they can take action. And they can also click on this Connect Your Lawmakers link, which once you put in some of your personal information, will identify your legislator and pre-populate email messages, letters, phone call scripts, things that you can use to help shape a message to your legislator so that you can voice your support of SNAP. Just trying to reduce the barriers to taking those really important policy actions, advocacy actions, and having them all kind of focus in one place on our website. So it's a new piece for Second Harvest, and we're really looking forward to sharing more of this and more of these policy actions with you, our partners, as we move further into the space. I'm going to put links to watch the television ads that have been running in different districts in Minnesota for the past 6 weeks. I'll put those in the chat. I don't want to try and share those on video because sometimes it's a little dicey with the sound, but you can view those on your own time. And I'll put some imagery as well so you can see some of the digital ads, but I'm guessing a number of you have seen those pop up in your social media feeds over the past 6 weeks too. What sort of questions can I answer that anyone may have about these efforts? And it's okay if nothing comes to mind up front, you can always follow up with us.
And feel free to come off of mute or throw your question in the chat.
Yeah.
This is Melissa from South Minneapolis. Are the stats that you had in relation to urban rural, are those on the website you're showing, or is there a way we could get some of that that's really good?
What we'll do is share, we have a kind of a fact sheet that we can share with you, and we'll get that emailed out.
Okay. I think of a lot of our volunteers, we're urban, but a lot of our volunteers are originally from outstate probably, and probably have contacts to share that information outstate as well to get more support for SNAP.
Great.
I'll add that. Any other documents like that, I'll add to Agency Zone where we have the recording of this. So we'll list this recording transcript, and then any of these resources, you can access them. I put the link in the chat for the Agency Zone or Agency Online Exchange recordings.
Thanks, Sophia. Well, thanks for the time. I appreciate it. And do feel free to follow up with any questions you have, or check out those resources in Agency Zone and let us know how we can help.
Thank you so much, Mike. Appreciate it. Okay. Short and sweet update from Mike. Really appreciate that. So we have a couple other resources here to share with you all too, and these might be very familiar already. One is the grantee list so in Minnesota, there are quite a few agencies that are granted to do SNAP outreach, and several of the grantees are actually going to be on our panel today. And this might just be helpful for you all to reference if you're curious in learning more about who is doing SNAP outreach in Minnesota. So Second Harvest Heartland is a grantee, so that means that we work with the state to do this. And so we have a huge team at Second Harvest Heartland of SNAP outreach specialists that help folks every day with their application. We actually have a couple of the team members on the call today. I think Vicki Mendez is on and Nola Puckett. Hello. So they may be chiming in here as well. If you have any specific eligibility questions, they would be the folks to ask. And really, if you ever have any questions as you're working with the community and filling out applications, doing that outreach, our SNAP outreach team is available. And I'll also put a link in the chat here of the other grantees in Minnesota, because there's probably other grantees that are closer to you, or you might already have a relationship to. So the way that they do outreach is not necessarily how we do outreach, and there's no one size fits all. And that's why I really wanted to call the panelists together today that do things from different agencies to see how we all do things. So let me just put that in the chat of the different grantees. Oh, oops, I accidentally sent that to one person directly. Everyone in the meeting here. And then another resource that we wanted to make sure everybody had was a link to the Minnesota DHS SNAP website. So this is the Minnesota Food Helper link, and this is just like one of the best ways to get signed up for SNAP. You know, obviously refer to those grantees for application assistance, but if you're working with somebody who's ready to complete the application right then and there, this is the way to do it. So I'll add that in the chat as well. And then lastly, that action center that Mike was just talking about, it's brand new to us. I just signed up to receive action alerts as well. It's pretty handy, and it's been kind of a long time coming. I'm really excited that we finally got it. So there's that. And so that brings me to our next section of the AOE, which is bringing our panel on board here. So panelists, if you could come off camera and get ready for our questions. This is a good segue because we're really curious on learning from you all. What are you seeing out in the field? How do you share information about SNAP to your shoppers at the food shelf or agency that you're at? What works well, what hasn't worked well? So I'll just start with that. Can we do some introductions here? I'll pick on Nola first. She's our Second Harvest Heartland resident SNAP expert.
So hi, my name is Nola. I'm an outreach specialist. Is there an echo?
There was, but I think I fixed it.
Okay. So I serve 5 counties. I serve Stearns County, Wright County, Sherburne County, Carver County, and Scott County. So what I do is I go into the different food shelves, go into the different schools, go to any place that lets me get in there and talk about SNAP. The big thing that I do is I would go into a food shelf and just, get a tour, talk to them. It's a lot about collaborating. I can give you an example of what I did on Tuesday. I went into Montrose at their community center. They were doing a food distribution. And I sat and talked to cars that were pulling through to get their food. And I estimated I talked to 165 cars that pulled through and gave them flyers, talked to them about SNAP. And then, gave them information that they needed to know or that they wanted to know and how to get a hold of us to help, so we can help them get signed up. And then in the whole process, while I was at this community center, there was a school bus that came in from an alternative school in Buffalo. And I spoke with one of the teachers. She came up with this idea for me to come into her school and talk to the kids, talk to the teachers. Well, no, talk to the counselors and the social workers about SNAP. And so I am very excited about this. My thought is any way that I can get the word out more is great. Again, a lot about collaboration. I've also talked to the Waconia School District. I did that one a couple weeks ago, and I talked to their social workers, talked to the food shelves in that area. And we just did a PowerPoint presentation on SNAP, the ins and outs of it. I guess my thought is the more I can get the word out about SNAP, the better. You know, it takes off some of that burden off the food shelf and just helps out so many more people. So again, it's the more I can get into the meat community, talk to people, just thinking of different ways that I can get out there in my community, the better.
Great. Thank you so much, Nola.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Kelly, can you tell us just a little bit, an introduction about the SNAP outreach that you're doing at Prairie 5, what it looks like?
Yes, so I'm Kelly. I'm the outreach director for Prairie 5. So I oversee the yellow medicine, the Chippewa, Big Stone, and Swift. Or did I say that? Swift, yellow medicine, Big Stone, Chippewa. So we screen all of our clients because we run multiple different programs with Prairie 5. So we screen them all when they come in for the food shelf, especially if they're coming back multiple times. We really try to screen them again. We have applications on hand, so we help them fill it out right there if they need it. Otherwise, they normally come back and make an appointment. And then we actually send everything over to the county for them for faxing it. We have a close relationship with all of our counties for that way. So we're trying to do that. We also run a hot and cold food truck in our smaller areas as well that we deliver hot meals or frozen meals to. So we also screen them with information and brochures to get them on as well. So it's kind of that in a nutshell. So.
Cool. Thank you, Kelly. And do we have Martha on from Clues? Hope she's able to make it. I was curious to learn about her SNAP outreach, because they are also a grantee. Yeah. Hello,
Hi, I'm Martha Gonzalez. I work with Clues. I am the Food Access and Resource Coordinator in our branch here in Austin, Minnesota, which is southeast. So yeah, basically how we do our outreach. I mean, I try to, of course, do so I also do food distribution events. So mostly I do my outreach there, but if not, I'll just go table at a school. Right now I'm actually tabling at Mayo Clinic, so that kind of helps with the SNAP outreach. I joined we have a food security like group that we meet once a week just to kind of see how we can evolve the SNAP outreach here in our community. So yeah, I think those are ways that I contribute to my outreach.
Yeah. And I'll just kind of open up the space if any of our agency partners want to pipe in and share about some of the SNAP outreach that they do. And I know you all are doing it. It might be informal or formal, whether it's just sticking a flyer in the grocery bag or it's posting the poster, in your food shelf. That's SNAP outreach, it doesn't have to be sitting down and doing application assistance. So if anyone wants to give a moment to brag about the work you're doing or give a shout out to any of the outreach specialists that might be at your org, now's your moment. Otherwise, I do have some questions prepared for our panelists. Otherwise, if we're feeling shy, that's okay. All right. So the first question I want to start for our panelists is what types of what would be helpful SNAP resources for our agency partners? So what specifically is working well in communicating about SNAP? Is it flyers? Is it posters? Is it word of mouth? What really is that point where people go, okay, maybe now I'll finally apply for SNAP. I didn't realize I was eligible before, or I thought this program wasn't for me. What are just some best practices that work really well when you're working with food shelves? Or what hasn't worked well? Is sticking the flyers in the grocery bags no longer a best practice? I'm not sure. So Nola, Kelly, or Martha, feel free to pipe in.
This is Vicky Mendez. I can jump in also. So number one, I think flyers, rack cards, with qualification numbers on the back in multiple languages. So important, to have, that right there handy. And then for more information, a number to call, a website to check out, something like that. And that's still our number one way that we, outreach to folks and help folks, as best we can.
Thanks, Vicky. Martha, you're up.
Yeah, I mean, I would say what has worked for us over here, it's mostly word of mouth. I mean, I know it's kind of a little shocking, but yeah, basically, I mean, it's a small town as well, so word of mouth gets out there really quick. So, and I've done the whole passing flyers. I still do it to this day, throughout our food our food distributions and stuff like that. But mostly what I've seen, it's like they either end up in the floor or they're just like tucked in somewhere in the bottom where after they grab their food. So it kind of doesn't stick to them that much. But I mean, as well, so of course handing them out like my business card and making sure that that they know that they have like a safe space to like talk about SNAP and the application and everything. So I feel like mostly word of mouth for me has worked.
That's a really interesting one, Martha. I might need to follow up with you about that.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of a newer outreach method that we haven't really discussed or thought about before. And is it, it's not really an outreach method, but it's just a best practice or a way that people are learning about it. Kelly or Nola, do you want to share anything?
So mine's kind of a piggyback from Martha. A lot of it is word of mouth, and that part. Like so a lot of our artists come in for other reasons or other programs we have. So they feel like we are a safe spot to talk to and help them with the application or do whatever on that. So that has helped. We have done flyers as well, but I don't see that as much of a turnaround for us. And we still do it, but we don't see much back from that. But definitely word of mouth for us as well.
Cool. That makes sense.
I would kind of like to add that, yes, I kind of agree that the flyers, might not be the greatest thing, but what I do like about the flyers is that they have that phone number on there. So when I'm doing distributions, if I'm in the food shelf talking to people, they look at it and they look at the income guidelines, they're like, yeah, I don't qualify. I always try to tell them, you know what, call us. We can see, what we can do to, if there's something that we can do to help you get qualified. Or, it's that they're embarrassed, so saying, nope, it's just a card now. It looks just like a credit card. So breaking down some of those barriers, breaking down some of those myths that people have about SNAP, I'd really like to be in the community doing that, breaking down those barriers again.
Absolutely. All right, thanks all for answering that first question. And I see it, yeah, Kim has both a suggestion and a question. So I'll just let you come off mute here, Kim, and go ahead and pipe in.
Sure. The suggestion is we've had some luck with also being sure that we tell individuals what other benefits there are to signing up for SNAP besides food. So we've put a list together of other discounts, whether it's tickets at the Children's Theater to other things around the state that they can get access to with SNAP as well. So I'm not saying that it doesn't erase all the stigma, but it gives them more to think about in that department. So that's one way. And then the question at some point is, where are the gaps in outreach around the state? Areas where they're just, as far as people are just not getting to in order to talk about SNAP. Thanks.
That's a great question, Kim. I'm not sure if I'm prepared to necessarily answer that myself. Do any agency partners want to talk about gaps that they're seeing in their area for SNAP outreach?
I'll go. I would say for gaps of outreach, I would say I think because I work with a lot of Latinos, so basically is breaking those myths, because due to their status and stuff. So I think that's one of the big gaps, like doing outreach. Like sometimes like I'll go up to them and be like, hey, they're like, yeah, no. Like they'll shut me off. It's like, no, like so it's kind of like I said before, just creating that safe space for them and in order to talk about it and not feel ashamed at the end of the day. So sorry, there's somebody.
You're good.
So yeah, I think that's one. It's just like reaching to those households that think they don't qualify, because sometimes they just don't want to hear it and they just assume like the worst, I guess.
Absolutely. And so, yeah, one suggestion could be then is to like really look at communities in your areas that have higher concentrations of Spanish speakers, Latinos, that may be more afraid to approach the county for SNAP application help. So yeah, as a food shelf, you really have that power to be a welcoming, safe space for those shoppers, and be that connector to SNAP. And I've seen really great ways that our food shelf partners have built that trust to be that connector and say, hey, you know what? This is a program that you are eligible for based on your status. We know that there are a lot of misconceptions and perceptions of this program, and your questions and fear are definitely valid. And that's why folks that are in outreach specialist positions are really great to talk to, like Nola and Kelly and Martha. All right, Paula, you have been raising your hand patiently, so you're up next. Please ask your question, and then we'll go to Alana, who has a suggestion in the chat.
Okay, so we are currently in a very tight space and really can't do a lot about SNAP. But as we are preparing to move into our new space, hopefully by the end of the fall here, my thought was to put in a second computer in our intake area and have that set up for SNAP applications. And I guess I'm listening to the conversation. I'm wondering if that's a good idea or not. One of the issues that we're dealing with is language barrier. Our Spanish speaking population has dramatically increased in our food shelf. Our intake person is bilingual, and that's been wonderful, but she will not be able to split her time between those two items because we pull 80 families through in under 3 hours. So it gets pretty hectic. So I guess my first question is it a good idea to have a computer set up with the SNAP application screen available? And is it available in Spanish if we do that? And has anybody tried it? Have they had success, or do they have suggestions for me?
I can talk about a little bit about that. I went over to a food shelf and we were talking about that exact same thing. And what I suggested to them, and they thought actually it was a good idea, is if they have like this little corner area in their waiting room, that they could make private enough that I could go in, train one of their volunteers, and they could market that volunteer will be there certain day, certain time to help out with SNAP applications. So I think it's a great idea. I think it's a fabulous idea.
So if we don't have someone that can be trained or that can be there to work, is it feasible to work if we just kind of direct the client there? Is it understandable enough that they could do it on their own, or do you think they really need to have someone there helping?
So I'd say yes and no. One, my suggestion would be if they feel like they can do it themselves, either on paper application or on the Minnesota Benefits website, great. If not, having our care center phone number available for them to call to have one of our team help them walk through that.
So
Or
while they're on the computer to be able to call and ask for help. Okay, that's, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I really don't think we're going to have the volunteer ability. And so that's
Mhm.
why I was wondering if this is even a good idea, but having that care center number would be good.
I
Okay,
think it's a fabulous idea. I like where you're going with that.
okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah,
No, I totally agree. I think it's an amazing idea that you should have another computer with the screening and stuff. I mean, I think the only suggestion I would have, and what I've seen with certain families, it's like I guess like the screening, if you're trying to make like your own screening and stuff, just not make it like very overwhelming to them. I mean, because sometimes they even get scared with like just seeing the paperwork. So I would say yes, have someone there. But if you're gonna do the screening through the computer, just make it as easy, straightforward as possible. That way they're like, oof, like, like I got this over with, but still make it to the point where you have enough information to help them out. If that makes sense. I don't know.
It does, thanks.
Great question, great suggestions.
I see Alana put in the chat box that every Thursday they have a United Community Action member, staff member at the food shelf, and they help with SNAP applications. And they also do heat, energy assistance, and housing assistance. So the other days, then they direct those people that want help with that right to UCAP. And then Melissa Brooks says that she'd love to see more details on how to talk about eligibility and status, especially with the recent arrivals versus the US-born families or families with US-born children.
Yeah, I can jump in for about that specific question. This is Vicky again. So first off, children that are born here are absolutely eligible for SNAP and they can apply for SNAP. Their parents or guardians do not have to apply. So that is the first myth that sometimes I hear out there that for mixed status families. And then there are certain, depending on how arrivals come to the United States, asylees and refugees can also be eligible, but that gets into a little more nuanced questions. And again, we can help answer those questions if someone calls our line, and we can talk about that a little more closely.
Thanks, Vicky. And Melissa also added a note here that literacy issues will be a barrier for some families. Yes, definitely. That's something that we have seen on the SNAP outreach team as well.
Vicky, do you want to put the number for the care center in the chat?
Yeah, Nola, can you drop that in for me? Fantastic, thank you.
yeah, I do want to add to that a little bit that if somebody just has that literacy issue, if they call our care center, we can help them sign up for SNAP. We've got somebody that is a Somalian that's on our team. We've got 1 or 2 Spanish people on our team. And I know I'm missing Hmong, I think. I'm not positive, but I think. And we'll have the language line as well, that they can help people just sign up directly.
Yeah, the other thing we can help with also is for folks with disabilities as well. I think about learning disabilities, reading disabilities, that sort of thing, as well as physical disabilities, visual impairments, hearing impairments. Our main thing is to break down all the barriers and figure out ways to do that. So
Great. Okay. Great questions. we're ready to move on to another question, unless anybody wants to jump into the chat or come off of mute. I was really curious to learn from our panelists or any agency partners on the call here. We know already that a lot of our households that are coming to the food shelves are already on SNAP. And their SNAP dollars just simply do not cover what they need for monthly food costs. We hear that all the time. So do many of your shoppers at the food shelf already have SNAP? And if so, like, how do you gather this insight? So agency partners, are you screening, or is this kind of an assumption? And if so, like, what are the contributing factors that might be driving shoppers to use the food shelf? I'm just really curious what it looks like right now in 2023. In previous years in hunger relief, the typical kind of story was that a crisis might drive a family to the food shelf, like a job loss or an emergency. But now it's really changed the landscape, where it might just be that living expenses outweigh net income. And even though you're on SNAP and taking advantage of that benefit as much as you can, you still need to visit your food shelf to get the food you need for your family. Or if you are not seeing households on SNAP when you're doing screening, I'm curious, what are the barriers? What are people saying? Are people just not aware of eligibility? Or is it just not accessible, that application? Or are people just not qualifying because of the income guidelines? So agency partners, feel free to pipe in.
This is Jill at Friends in Need. We sometimes hear that people, oh, I don't get my SNAP benefits till next week and we don't have any food until then. And we do just do a brief chat with everyone that comes in, because if they need food, they often need other things. And then if they have, maybe they didn't know about SNAP or know how to do it, or, well, I thought I applied for it, but I haven't heard anything. We just get their information. We contact Emily, is who we contact at Second Harvest. And then she has their information and she reaches out to them and gets everything taken care of.
Lovely. Thank you. Thanks for sharing.
I would say that at JFCS, I would say 50% of the people that I work with are already on SNAP, and they're looking for other resources to supplement SNAP and have a job. So I think it is that issue of it's just taken a piece of all of that to make it. And then the other barrier that comes up a lot is related to your question, is they just are struggling getting an answer from the county. It's just taking a really long time. So any tips there?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, hearing back from the county, I think that our neighbor services team that is in the care center, I think that they struggle with that as well.
We do indeed. This is Vicky again. I wish there was an easy answer for that. And it's so frustrating to be working with a neighbor on the telephone, and they've tried multiple times, multiple ways, and still have just not heard. We strive to have good county contacts, like I heard another panelist say, and that really helps. But it's still very, very frustrating. But we do what we can to make those connections and keep those connections strong, so that when we are talking with a neighbor on the phone, we can reach out to some of our county contacts and not always get an answer, but at least give it a try and see what happens.
Kelly, I'm curious if in your area, in your counties, if you're kind of hearing a similar thing about folks just not hearing back from the county, or it's taking a really long time to get their benefits.
Yes, but mostly we hear a lot. So when people come into the food shelf, their first words are normally like, well, my SNAP benefits got cut, so I don't have enough to make it to the end of the month or until I get my next stuff from it. Yes, our counties, most of the time are pretty good at getting back to them. That or maybe it's because we bug them enough, with the client in their office where they help them more. We try to make sure they have all of the supporting documents sent back. If we know that they need it when we call the county. So that has helped a little bit, but for that part, but like I said, a lot of it is people are on SNAP that use it. They just were cut so bad they can't stretch their stuff with all the other expenses going up. So, but like I said, we help with a lot of other programs with, you know, in our agency that helps try to help the clients in the way we can. So that's our type of thing. So.
Thanks, Kelly. Okay, we got a technical question from Paula here. So whoever wants to answer this one, Kelly, Nola, Vicky, anyone who does SNAP outreach here. What supporting information is needed on a SNAP application? And can lack of submission of the needed information cause these delays? Anyone want to grab that one?
Honestly, I normally call the county depending on what it is, and when I have them on the phone, I normally ask if it's, you know, for senior, what they need to send with it, or if it's, you know, a family, what they send with it. I can, off the top of my head, give you the breakdown, exactly what it is. I mean, it's not a whole lot, but it kind of depends on their income. Usually it's 30 days of income along with, I think, bank statements and possibly a copy of their ID. But don't quote me on that, but that's what I see. I just call and get it on the phone with them. And normally the receptionist that you talk to can give you the information as well.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. They need a photo ID, and that can be provided. It doesn't have to be a Minnesota state ID. It could be, you know, lots of different things. And they need a copy of what they pay for shelter. So usually mortgage information or rent information. And sometimes that could be hard to get from different rental situations, but it can be as simple as a handwritten note about what they pay for rent and signed. And depending on the financial worker that they're working with at the county. But that is quite frequently used in some situations. And then they also need information about what their monthly income is. So paycheck stubs or whatever other sources of income they have. And then for seniors, I always mention that for seniors, they can provide information about what they're paying for out-of-pocket medical expenses. And that can really help in how they can qualify for SNAP. So for instance, any deductibles that they're paying out of pocket, any transportation to medical appointments, if they keep track of those receipts, any prescriptions that they're paying for out of pocket, those sorts of things. Medical equipment can also be something, any other bills that they have related to medical expenses as well.
Great information. Thank you, Vicki.
Yeah, so I kind of wanted to, I'm going to backtrack a little bit, but not to, because I know we talked about like the county workers not getting back to you, but what I've seen over here is mostly the mail, oh my God, what they get in the mail. They sometimes get it like late, or they will send it, I would see the date and they're like, well, I just received this yesterday, but the letter was sent, I guess, like 2-3 weeks ago. And I guess so yeah, can the lack of submission of the needed information, so I would say like that kind of delays their process as well, because sometimes they'll give them on the letter would say like, oh, your interview date and stuff like that, but the interview was like 2 days ago. So you see where I'm like, that's kind of, I don't feel like there's not really a lack of submission. It's just like I feel like they're getting stuff late as well, as for Mower County. But I also helped people in the cities like Hennepin County, Dakota, and all of those. And over there they do get, I don't know if they're just backtracked or something, but they I remember I helped a person in October. She didn't get back to me till February saying that she got approved. So that exactly. Yeah. So I was just like, they're pretty I don't know what's going on, but yeah, they do take a long time.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on either. But yeah, it's really unfortunate because yeah, families need their benefits, and when they don't get the dollars they need for food, that I think it contributes to the record visits that we are hearing about from our agency partners that have already been working above and beyond throughout the pandemic and after the pandemic to meet the needs of our communities. So yeah, the cutoff of the temporary emergency SNAP benefits in April and March, we really are seeing a direct correlation, I think, from that and the increased need and hunger in Minnesota. With our last few minutes here, please, any more questions for either our panelists that are grantees and do SNAP outreach, or for our agency partners that also are maybe doing outreach or want to do more outreach? This is your time. And then usually in the last 5 minutes, we kind of open it up to any other topics that might be of interest to our agency partners. Today's focus was SNAP, but this is your time. So. Otherwise, I'll just ask, is there anything else that our panelists would like to share to our agency partners? Oh, Stuart, you're coming off camera. You got something for us?
Not related to SNAP. Ask your panel.
Okay, well, I was just going to give you our panelists like a final shot here. If you have any suggestions or resources to share with our agency partners on best practices with SNAP outreach, or just anything to be aware of in terms of eligibility. I know that there's some stuff in the news around potential work requirement changes coming in October for persons aged, I think it was 50 to 52. Correct me if I'm wrong, Vicki. I know that it's very in the weeds policy right now, so we don't need to get into it. But please just reach out to us or your nearest SNAP grantee if you are a food shelf partner that is interested in doing more SNAP and would like to know more. Martha, Nola, Kelly, anything else? Well, thank you for being panelists. Very insightful and knowledgeable folks here. And thank you, agency partners, for tuning in to listen about SNAP. Now we have just some free time here. So Stuart, what do you got for us?
I want to thank the panel. That was a really good presentation. I learned a lot. We are seeing dramatic increases this month. We're up 63% compared to July. And August was up 25% compared to July. And I'm just curious if other people are seeing this. Our daily average has gone from 80 households to 130. It's crazy.
We're seeing a crazy increase as well, especially in like the Chippewa County. It has very much increased. So it's a struggle, and I don't know how you guys are dealing with it, but we have to make sure all the, the shelves are stocked at all times. So I mean, what are you doing when you see that much? I mean, ours is more like 50% dry. So what are you doing to supplement that?
We're stocking all the time. It used to be a couple of times a day, and now it's just all day long.
I'm hearing that at every single food shelf I've been going to lately, that there's such a big increase. The other thing that they're seeing is, they might focus on one county, but they're getting people from all the surrounding counties as well. And when I'm talking to people about SNAP, they're like, oh yeah, I have it, but it it only gives me like 25 bucks, so it's one of those things. So they're going, to the food shelf more just to make ends meet. So yeah, I think it's also then just something to add to that is what other resources, finding other resources to give them, to help out with that. What the food resources are out there. So bringing that conversation into the picture, I think, is big as well.
Yeah, we have a list of area congregate feedings and other food shelves and give it out all day long.
That's awesome.
Well, I'm glad to hear that I'm not alone, and I just wish all my colleagues the best of luck.
Well, we have just a few more minutes here. Any other final questions? Otherwise, Stuart kind of brings up an interesting question, which is just like any other other food resources that our agency partners are referring to outside of their own food shelf and SNAP. I know that's probably really hard, when you are a food shelf that is serving a large area and county, and you're the main resource for that community. So has anyone found any best practices, collaboration that they'd like to share about? I know we only have a couple minutes left here. I know someone mentioned Fair for All earlier in the chat, and I think that's a great resource. When I was in a position where I was working with families, that was a huge one that I always plugged, because families can use their SNAP dollars at Fair for All to make those purchases, and you get a large bundle of meat, produce. I'm not sure what it's looking like these days in 2023, but years ago it was great. So I can only imagine it's improved even more. Our friends at the food group administer that program. We can add a link in the chat here to Fair for All sites if you're unaware of that program.
And the great thing about that program is there's no qualification numbers, so anybody can use it. And we all love to stretch our budget. So I've used it. It's fantastic.
And make sure to be referring to WIC. We have the Nutrition Assistance Program for seniors, also known as CSFP or NAPS. Second Harvest Heartland can help with application assistance and helping you find sites if you're unfamiliar with that program. We won't get into it today. That's a whole other topic, but it's a resource specifically for seniors that are income eligible. So if you're looking for more information on food resources to refer your food shelf clients to, just reach out to your partner relations specialist or whoever you talk to at the food bank, and we'll try to send you a list. Otherwise, I would say that that's about it for today's agency online exchange on SNAP. It was a great session, I think. It's a very important topic to all of us that are working in hunger relief, as it's just an important piece of the puzzle. So thank you to all that are doing work in SNAP. And if you're interested in learning more, reach out to our team or one of your grantees in your area. And I'm sure that they would be happy to share best practices and talk with you about how you can do more SNAP outreach in your work at your programs. So I'll leave it at that. I'll hang on for a few minutes here if anyone wants to stick around and chat with the Second Harvest Heartland team. Otherwise, have a good rest of your Thursday. We'll see you. Oh boy, when is our next agency online exchange? I think we're taking a break. We are. Oh, Thursday, October 26th is our next one. We will have no meetings in November or December to give you a break for your holiday programs. All right, bye everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly.
I want to see, can you send me the link or an invite for the next meeting? Or I don't know.
Yeah, we would love to have you come again, Martha. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Perfect. Thank you so much for having me. Have a good one.
Oh yeah, you too. Bye.
Good job, Kelsey. Thank you.
Yep,
Yes.
thank you, Kelsey.
Thank you, Vicky. Yes, you did. Everybody was great, phenomenal, so insightful. I love our team.
Yeah.
Right back at you.
So you can stop the recording and then I think you'll get an email
Sounds good. Stop
and
recording.
save it to the cloud.
That's right.